Hello and welcome to Kids Book Club. So for those of you that follow us on Facebook and Instagram, you may have seen our post, which was a picture of a woman and a chimpanzee. So I asked you guys, if you did see it, if you knew who that woman was. So here is the picture that I posted. And do any of you know who the lady in the photo is? Her name is Jane Goodall. And today's story is all about her. So today I will be reading Who is Jane Goodall? Who is Jane Goodall? When Jane Goodall was a little more than a year old, her father gave her a toy animal. It wasn't a soft and cuddly puppy or kitten or bunny. It was a big chimpanzee. Why did Jane's father choose a chimp? It was 1935. A baby chimpanzee had been born at the London Zoo. Jane's parents lived in London and followed the news about the little chimp named Jubilee. Why was it such a big event? Do you know? Before then, all the zoo's chimps had been born in the wild, in Africa. Jane's toy was named Jubilee too. It played music when Jane squeezed its belly. Because Jubilee was so real-looking, some people thought that the chimp was too scary for a baby girl. Jubilee might give little Jane bad dreams. Do you think it would have given her bad dreams? Jane loved Jubilee and took the toy wherever she went. She had no bad dreams. As a very young child, Jane Goodall had no idea that she would spend most of her life among chimpanzees. Real, live chimpanzees. But that's what she did. The chimps that Jane came to know did not live in a zoo. They roamed free in the forests of eastern Africa. Over time, the chimps began to treat Jane like another chimp, a tall, funny-looking chimp. Because the chimps accepted her, Jane was able to learn more about these amazing animals than anybody had before. She saw how chimp mothers cared for their babies. She saw how chimps worked and played together. She learned how chimps showed happiness, fear, anger, and sadness. Most important of all, Jane Goodall proved to the world how alike humans and chimpanzees are. As for Jubilee, the toy chimp, Jane never gave it away. To this day, Jubilee sits on a dresser in the house where Jane lives. So here's a question. Do you think chimpanzees are monkeys? They kind of look the same, right? Chimpanzees are not monkeys. When most people look at a picture of a chimp, they say it's a monkey. But chimps are not monkeys. They're apes. So are gorillas and orangutans. Apes do not have tails. Almost all kinds of monkeys do. Apes have strong arms and can swing from tree branch to tree branch. Most monkeys can't do this. I didn't know that. Monkeys run along the tops of branches. Ape skeletons look very much like human skeletons. And monkey skeletons look more like the skeletons of other small mammals, like dogs or cats. Monkeys, apes, and humans all belong to the animal group called primates. Apes are the closest relatives in the animal kingdom to humans. How cool is that? Let's keep reading about Jane. Chapter 1. Jane, the Animal Lover. Jane was born on April 3rd, 1934, in London, England. London is one of the world's greatest cities. However, Jane was far happier in the country. Her family moved outside the city to a house with a yard. What interested Jane most were animals. All kinds of animals. Learning about them in books was interesting, but facts from books were not enough for Jane. Jane wanted to find out about animals by watching them herself. One time, she dug up some earthworms. She came home and put them under her pillow. Jane wanted to go to sleep with them. Her mother explained that the worms needed to be in their home. Little Jane was disappointed, but returned the worms to the garden. Have you ever dug up earthworms? I used to when I was a kid. When she was about 5 years old, Jane was curious to see how chickens laid eggs. In the backyard at her grandmother's house was a chicken coop. Here was Jane's chance to watch an egg get laid. She had Jubilee with her. She crept into the empty chicken coop. Then she waited for a hen to arrive. Jane stayed so still that the hen didn't notice her. Hour after hour went by. Jane kept waiting and watching. Finally, after 5 hours, Jane saw what she had hoped for. Out popped an egg from underneath the chicken. Jane was so excited. Her family, however, was scared. Her mother called the police to report that Jane was missing. But when Jane returned to the house, she did not get scolded. Her mother understood that Jane was not being naughty. She needed to learn about the natural world in her own special way. Have you guys ever watched a chicken lay an egg? It's not an easy task. I own chickens and tried to watch a chicken lay an egg and didn't really have the best success. However, I have watched an egg hatch. So I'm going to add the clip of the egg hatching right here for you guys to watch. And this is a time-lapsed video. So it didn't go by as quickly as this video shows. It can take up to 12 hours for a chick to come out of its egg. So the chick is using its beak to peck along the inside of the shell, and it uses its feet as a guide, so it kind of cuts a pretty straight line to come out. And here you can see that he's made it all the way to the top of the egg, so that part's broken too. And now the chick just has to push his way out of the egg. So as you can see, he looks pretty damp, and that's from being inside the egg for so long. So he'll just have to sit in the incubator for a few hours to dry and then go into the brooder with the rest of the chicks. So that's going to be it for today's story. But I have a couple of questions for you. So it would seem that Jane's favorite animal from a very young age was the chimpanzee. So one of my questions is, do you have a favorite animal? And if so, what is it and why is it your favorite? I don't know if I really have a favorite animal per se. For anybody that knows me, I do really enjoy my chickens, and I think I like them the most because they are all different. They all look different. They have different feathers. They lay eggs, which is nice, and they all have different personalities, so they're kind of fun to watch run around and interact with each other and the ducks and people and our dogs. But I don't know if they're my favorite, but they are fun. And another question that I have is, she used to carry around a toy animal called Jubilee the Chimpanzee. And I want to know if you have a special toy that you carry around with you or used to carry around with you. I have a blue stuffed bunny that was my absolute favorite, and I still have him. He sits right in my bedroom on a chair, and I see him every day. So feel free to comment below to answer any of my questions, or you can comment over on Facebook. And if you want to hear more about Jane Goodall, definitely tune in next Wednesday and we will continue reading from this book. We'll see you then.